Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Wen-chien Cheng. I'm the Louis Hawley Stone Chair of the Chinese Art at the Royal Ontario Museum. I'm delighted that you could join us for today's Curator Conversation, a digital program that explores themes and subjects from the RUN collections alongside industry professionals. I would like to take this opportunity to thank TD for their ongoing support of this program. I'd also like to begin by acknowledging that RUN sits on what has been the ancestral lands of the Wanda, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe Nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, since time immemorial to today. Today's program celebrates the Lunar New Year, a holiday that traditionally could go on for more than 2 weeks and is still celebrated by nearly 2 billion people around the world. For Chinese, we call it Spring Festival, and this year it begins in February 1st, which is the last Tuesday, and it marked the end of the year of ox and the start of the year of the tiger. In honor of the new year, today's program will explore the symbolism behind the Chinese year of the tiger, highlighting the specimens and art images from the RUN collections. Before I introduce my colleague, I'd like to say a few words about the format of today's program. We will have a conversation on today's topic, which is tiger, about for 20 to 25 minutes. During the program, you're welcome to submit your thoughts, questions via the Q&A features on screen. We will try our best to answer your question at the end of the sections. Because of the time limit of this program, if we don't get to answer all your questions, I'll apologize in advance. Now, I would like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Burton Lim, to you. Dr. Lim is the Associate Curator of the Mammalogy at the RUN. His research focused on mammalian evolutions and biodiversity with emphasis on bats. But today, of course, he's going to tell us about tigers. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Lim. Burton, I'm so glad that you are here today for this conversation.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, Burton, last week we just celebrated Chinese New Year. I grew up in Taiwan, I don't know about you. The Chinese New Year was such a big thing in my childhood. I remember vividly like the nonstop fireworks would begin midnight right before the New Year day. And as kids, we had all to dress up in new clothing from top to bottom, including the shoes. And we're so excited about the red envelopes with the money in it, of course, and not to mention the delicious New Year food, sweet treats, etc. So Burton, you and me, we've been colleagues like 10 years, but only recently I learned that you are actually a third generation of Chinese Canadian. So does your family celebrate the Chinese New Year in Canada? Was it big things growing up for you?
Yes, yeah, we celebrated Chinese New Year's as well. It usually involved around the dinner. So the dinner was a big thing for us. I don't remember having fireworks, so I think you celebrated a lot more than we did, but the dinner was the big thing for us.
Well, no more now in Taiwan. I think it's probably forbidden because the environmental issue. Anyway, I wanted to start to share my screen so we can have see some images. I guess people might wonder why we have a year of a tiger. Chinese have the sort of animal assigned for each year. It is because that the traditional Chinese calendar has a 12-year cycle, and each year is represented by an animal we call the Chinese zodiac. In Chinese, the 12生肖. So I want to share with you this our most recent acquisition of a set of a ceramic zodiac animal. They're very, very colorful. They're not very big. It's only this big. And they are like have human body. They all have human bodies and animal heads. So you can identify by their heads here. 12 of them all here. And of course, this year is the tiger, which is the third one in this cycle, as you can see here. And this set was particularly made in the late Qing dynasty, but the human figures, animal head kind of figurine zodiac set actually can be found as early as the Tang Dynasty. So I want to quickly show you, this is the Tang Dynasty zodiac figurine in our gallery, actually. I want to mention that we have a zodiac case at the Rubang China Gallery, which is dedicated to displaying the objects related to zodiac animal each year. So this year, of course, is the tiger. So you can see that there's a range of the objects from ancient to even contemporary. For example, this one is called the Tiger Embraced by Chinese Canadian artists here. So you might not be able to see very well. We have a label here to tell you that this year actually says the people born in the year of the tiger are said to be very adventurous and also have very compelling personality. They're sometimes considered, oftentimes actually considered as leaders. I guess the reason is that the Chinese attributes some of the qualities that people think of the tiger to the person who is born in the year of the tiger. So in other words, people would have certain personality traits associated with their zodiac animal sign. So that's how we call this zodiac associations. So people today might find this very interesting. I don't know, Burton, are you into believing this personal traits at all? Maybe today we just feel like it's fun. But in the past, people were quite serious about this, especially it comes to marriage. So here I'm showing you a New Year woodblock print made in the early 20th centuries in Yangliuqing. Which is titled Improve the 12 Chinese Zodiac Signs for Matchmaking. So Burton, have you been aware of this type of zodiac matching for marriage?
Well, this is actually new to me. So I'm actually the year of the ox. So I was last year's, that was my year last year. But yeah, this is interesting because I've always wondered, like, are certain people born in certain years in certain animals, are they better matches for tigers, or how does that work?
Yeah, according to this chart, you can see there are 12 persons depicting in this print, each of them riding on his or her animal sign. And then you see a song written, matching songs to tell you what animal matches better with what animal. For example, let's figure out the tiger. This year is tiger. The animals' name are all represented by this name of the also called 12 earthly branches. So the tiger being the third one is yin. You can see here, yin means tiger. It matches with hai. Hai means the pig, the last one. So the tiger is a match with a pig. That means if you are born with the year of the tiger, you're matched with a bride born a year of the pig. Burton, do you want to figure out your ox, right?
Go for it.
I think the ox here, ox is the first one. Oh no, actually this whole, yeah. Ox match with the rat. Okay, so this is just for fun to show people now. Nowadays, people probably don't care so much. Burton, this is the one I really want to hear about your thoughts. This is the earliest tiger related objects in our collections, particularly China collection. It's a tiger bone dated to the Shang Dynasty, which is very early, the first half of the 11th centuries. We knew it's a tiger bone because of the inscription. Oh, by the way, this is just one bone. I'm showing you two sides of the bone. On one side is actually carved with the images of what can be identified as the Tao Tie mask with all these big eyes here. And this is the other side. We have an inscription, which is the earliest Chinese writing. We call it the oracle bone text. According to this inscription, fortunately, we can decipher it. I will read the last two sentences. The king hunted on the slopes of the mountain Ji. He caught this very large, ferocious tiger. So this is really something to worth commemorating, right? But I wonder, Burton, from its size and also maybe the shape and maybe the structure, I don't know, can you tell which bone of the tiger this is?
Well, the bone is quite long and quite narrow. So it's definitely a one of the leg bones. And now which exactly, which bone it is exactly, I'm not 100% sure. I would need to look at it a little bit more closely because right now it's in the display case. But you can see the one end is actually broken off.
Yes.
So that will make it a little bit more difficult to identify. But it is definitely one of the leg bones because it's long and thin. But I'll have to take a look at it more closely when I'm in next time.
Yeah, as Burton mentioned, this is actually on display in our gallery. So you're welcome to come and take a look. I have another question. If we can find a tiger bone dated to this early, does that mean the tiger is an indigenous animal in China?
Well, this bone is very old. You know, as far as human history goes, it's quite old. But tiger has been in China for probably a long time because the tiger species evolved about 2 million years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a very long time. So when exactly, you know, people knew about tigers, I don't know, but I think once, you know, people, were in China, I think they would probably have known about the tiger because, you know, obviously a tiger is such a big, you know, animal that they definitely would have known about it. Yeah, so when people were in China, they definitely would have known about tiger.
Okay. Wow. So in Chinese culture, tiger is both kind of respected and feared, I guess, because it's a very powerful animal. That's why this bone is considered like a trophy, which from the royal hunting, right? As a matter of fact, Chinese people consider the tiger as the king of the beast. I have another interesting object to show you here to get this point. This is a very cute pair of the child's mittens decorated with the tiger's head. As you can see here, this is just to show you where you put your little hands in and your thumbs coming out from here. I just love this design of the tiger. It looks so cute. And what's interesting is that on the forehead of this tiger, you see the stitches showing a Chinese character Wang, which means king. So tiger is considered the king of the beast in Chinese culture. How is the tiger actually regarded in the animal world, Burton?
Well, the tiger is what we call like a top level apex predator. So basically a tiger is a carnivore, so it feeds on other animals. And basically there's no other animals that would try to feed on a tiger other than say humans. So basically, you know, the tiger is, the king of the beasts because it's so big and so dominating that no other animals would, try to bother it. So it's at the top of the animal kingdom.
Except the human.
Except the humans.
That's interesting. So children will wear this kind of sort of mittens. I guess because tiger was considered sort of a superior animals to have this kind of protect against the evil kind of function there. Tiger images was quite often appeared in the dresses and the accessories of the young children's, particularly just the young children to protect it. You can see this is a very simple plain cotton. Nothing very special. That's probably coming from the original, average kind of family. You don't have to be wealthy to have a tiger design in your mittens. So in China, tiger images were associated with the status, privilege, and the political power, etc. Here are two good examples. On the left, you see is a man dressed in his official outfit. It's an ancestor portrait, which will be used to worship your family ancestor, like New Year time. So what's interesting in this portrait is, if you zoom in to look at this, it actually depicts the sitter sitting on this chair covered with a tiger pelt. Is that? I zoom in to take a look at this. Burton, do you know this type of tiger pelts? Really? You can make a tiger pelt like this?
You can definitely tan skin. So yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised, to see a skin done this way.
Yeah.
But I was actually wondering, so do you think this high-ranking official, would they actually own the tiger pelt, or do you think it was just the painter's sort of prop that they just painted the tiger pelt in, or do you think the official actually owned the tiger pelt?
That's a good question. The answer is yes or no. Probably only the highest ranking officials and nobilities would have means to own this. And the rest of the other official, like the one shown here, perhaps it's just the painter included in there to show the sitter's privilege status, and also, of course, the family's wealth, etc. So just like you say, it's probably included there as like props. We found it in the photo studio, and it's very interesting. But the image on the right, I want to also discuss it. It's an official badge, embroidered official badge. You would sew this the back and the front of this kind of official robe, like the one depicted here. So it's a square badge, some call it Mandarin square. It always has an animal there, indicating basically the official of the rank of the person wearing it. Okay. So in the Qing dynasty here, you can see is a tiger here. Tiger was the symbol for the fourth rank in the military office, which is a system of 9 official ranks. Then before the tiger, if you're curious, there are the qilin, the first rank, which is a sort of a creature between the dragon and the lion. And the second one is the lion. The third one is leopard. So even tiger was considered courageous, a quality that definitely valued in the military office. But tiger was only ranked 4th. So I can't help but wonder, in the animal world, as Burton mentioned, they're like predators in the top of the food chain, right? But lion, leopard, and tiger, among them, is one animal considered superior to the other in the animal world? I mean, consider maybe their hunting skill or how fast they run or whatever reason. Is there a ranking?
That's interesting because even though the tiger is ranked 4th, the tiger is actually the largest of the big cats.
Okay.
Yeah, so the lion is big, but the tiger is a little bit bigger.
Oh.
And the leopard of those 3 cats, the leopard is the smaller of the 3. Mm-hmm. they're actually found in different places, but the only place that they are found together, or they were found together, was India.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's interesting how why the tiger was only fourth. That's a good question.
I don't know. That's good to know. I didn't know the tiger is the biggest one.
Yeah, it's the biggest carnivore. And one other thing about that badge is my research interest is in bats, and I see at least 2 green bats in that badge.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think bats has another symbolism about sort of good blessings or good fortune.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that I liked it when I saw those 2 bats there.
Yeah, there too here. Yeah, the bats, because the it's a pun for Chinese character fu. The pronunciation of the bat in Chinese is fu. So that means fortune, happiness, etc. So you see bats a lot. Yeah, exactly. So we have seen quite a few tiger objects from our Chinese collection. Let's take a look at the tiger from our nature history side. This is a taxidermy mount of a tiger at the Rang Gallery. The photo on the right actually is displays our sort of an old gallery, which has a better view of the frontal image of this tiger. And the current tiger on display is this one, like the background shows the Burton's screen right now, because we can't really get a good view of the front from this photo. So Burton, can you tell our audience how exactly a taxidermy mount is made? I always wonder, this is all from the real tiger skins, including bones or not? And also how long it can last.
Yeah, well, taxidermy is a very specialized skill, because you have to be sort of part artist and part scientist, because yeah, for taxidermy, you want to make the animal look like it does in real life. So there's a lot of work that's involved in it. Usually there's no bones inside the specimen. Sometimes the skull is kept inside just to keep the shape of the head, because the shape of the head sometimes takes a lot of work, but it is the real skin. So that is the real skin of a tiger. But usually there's no bones inside. And as long as you keep it preserved, make sure that, no insects, no pests get inside the case, it should, stay forever and ever and ever.
Interesting. We never need to rotate it.
Yeah.
That's a good news for curators. Speaking of that, I would like to compare the taxidermy mount tiger of our newly installed painting, Chinese painting by this early 20th century Chinese painter named Hu Zhaobing. He came from Canton, and his style is very interesting, quite unique, combining both the traditional brushwork and some of the Western techniques. This tiger looks to me is really realistic. I can have a zoom-in picture from the artistic perspectives. But Burton, I wonder how realistic is this tiger depicted, consider maybe its biological traits. And also, could you tell us what would be the most distinctive kind of physical traits of the tiger?
Yeah, well, the painting looks very realistic, very authentic. And what I noticed right off the bat is that the claws are actually out of the paw. So normally, just like a house cat, the claws will be retracted. So the cat would only get the claws out whenever, or really whenever it wanted to hunt. I mean, sometimes a house cat will, use the claw of the furniture. But usually a wildcat will only bring the claws out whenever it's hunting. So it's possible that this particular painting of the tiger was, maybe the tiger had just caught some food, and now it's sort of cleaning off the paws after catching its food. But the painting looks very authentic, and as you can see, one of the most distinctive characteristics of a tiger is sort of the orange color of the fur, but with the black stripes. Yeah, so a tiger is, if you see a tiger, it's a tiger. There's no mistaking it for any other animal, and it's also very large.
Mm. So do you think it has to be sketched from life in order to get this lifelike to looking?
Yeah, well, that would, yeah. So I guess maybe a question for you is that, being, I think this artist did this probably in the early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by that time, yeah, so tigers, they're still found around in Asia, but their conservation status is very threatened. So in most of the distributions, they're not really found, that common. So yeah, so I'm wondering how did the artist know how to, paint a tiger? So I was wondering if it was able to see a tiger maybe in the zoo or maybe even the wild. I don't know.
The artist actually came from Canton, I mean the Guangdong area today, we call it Guangdong, where there's a lot of interactions between the Chinese and the Westerns. But he learned the Western sort of more sort of realistic technique in Japan. He started in Japan in the early 1910s, 20s. It was the time he was fascinated by the tiger paintings. So he possibly could be influenced by a Japanese artist named Ohashi Suseki, who actually was a Japanese style painter, but also had a strong interest in painting and drawing from life. He actually won the first prize at the Paris World Expositions in the 1900s for his tiger painting. It is said actually he sketched tigers at a show where the animals were on view for spectacles. So it's not from the zoo, but a show. So I wonder maybe this could be the sources for this Chinese artist as well. I want to particularly mention that I'm very grateful for this information provided by my colleague, Dr. Akiko Takezu, the RAN Japanese curator, for this information. So as Burton mentioned that I have no idea this is something that usually tiger won't show its cross unless it's going to do something. I would also imagine the artist paint this probably more sort of for the symbolism kind of reason than realistic, because Wu Zhaobing painted all his tiger painting really to inspire his fellow citizens to have this kind of fearless kind of a spirit of the tiger in facing a very depressing, chaotic kind of a political situation with China in the early 1900s. When China was constantly pressed by a lot of the foreign forces. So I want to particularly mention that we have two paintings by Wu Zhaobing on display in our China gallery. So if you are at the GTA area, please do come to see them. It's quite amazing to see the real painting. Here I want to show you another small yet very lovely jade figurine of the tiger. This is probably one of my favorite. I just thought that the artist was so clever to sort of integrate this nature color of the jade. Now I know the color of the skin of the tiger should be called orangish. I always thought it's brown, but it's actually orange, orangish color. This part of the jade is a nature color of the stone, and the artist makes it into the skin of the back of the tiger. Look how cute this tiger is. So this little sort of a jade piece shows that how clever the artist incorporate this idea.
Wen-chien, so what was this figurine? Was it what was it used for? Was it like a good luck charm or?
Yeah, it's actually quite small. It's basically an ornament for clothing. That means one would wear it very close to your body. So it could also function as a good luck charm. The Chinese ornaments, jewels always carries meanings of auspicious meaning or carry the function of a protective function for your bodies. Yeah. The last aspect of the tiger I want to explore today is the protecting the power of the tiger. We kind of touched upon it when we showed the little kids mittens. Because tigers are fearsome, Chinese believe that they have the magic of protecting the powers. This is why you see images of the pillows that incorporated the tiger in it. The one on the left actually is on display in the gallery in a zodiac case. You see this couching tiger with the big eyes here watching for you. And there's a very energetic tigers too. I guess you're most vulnerable when you are at sleep, right? So you have tigers incorporated into the pillows. Would you want such a pillow, Burton?
But it looks like it's probably pretty hard. So would there be like a softer pillow on top of this harder pillow?
Not exactly, but I think people would use a cushion on top of that. But still, it's a very hard pillow. Nothing like today's very fluffy down pillow people preferred. But ceramic pillows were thought to have some therapeutical kind of a function. So it's good to your house, as a matter of fact. Okay, so even it's hard, people still like to use them. So this is a very interesting Chinese print made in the late 1920s from the Shanghai region. The print depicts a Taoist demon queller named Zhang Tianshi, who's also considered the founder of the religious Taoism. He's in this action of the warding off the poisonous kind of a creature. As you see, he's riding on a tiger, holding a sword, and this poison creature was represented by a spider here, and lizard, and the centipede, and snake, and the toad. Tiger apparently looks very sort of fierce, and it's depicted here because of the protecting the power associated with him. So he's very suitable for this job as the assistant for this the Taoist priest. But I wonder, in reality, Burton, does tiger really eat this kind of creatures at all?
Well, normally a tiger would go after larger prey like deer or wild boar. But if the food isn't that plentiful, and if the tiger is really hungry, maybe it might go after a lizard or a snake or a frog just as a little snack. But it definitely, I don't think would, go after a spider or a centipede.
Okay.
Normally a tiger would go after bigger prey. But this print is interesting. So when would this print be used? Is it like something that would be bought and put up like in a store or something for good luck?
Well, yes, kind of. This kind of print is called a 年画, literally means New Year pictures. From pretty much the late 19th to 20th centuries, Chinese families would purchase such prints in the New Year market and then paste them onto the walls to decorate their house, to celebrate the New Year, also to bring in the good luck charms and to bring the perspective, the power, and etc. So this print would function to ward off the evil spirits for sure. Yeah. So I wanted to end this today's conversation with this woodblock print, a similar design, the one we just saw, but tiger is by itself now with its cup here. And obviously it's still in action of the warding off all these poison creatures. I hope that this images of the ferocious, powerful tigers will protect all of us against the evil forces, including the COVID-19. And also very interesting, you notice instead of the black stripes on its back, actually they are depicted. Here are all the Chinese coins. I hope this will bring everyone a good fortune and the prosperous years ahead. So now we have some time for questions. just a reminder, you could submit your question via the Q&A sections on the screen. So let me see if I can manage the question here before I stop sharing, because maybe some people would have questions regarding the slides. So the first question say, do they use bones for future forecasting? Example of the tiger bones, like turtles and shells. So that's related to the tiger bones we first see. The most common ones we see in the Song Dynasty for this kind of forecasting, that's fortune telling or divinings, we say, are the turtle shells and some of the blades of the ox as well. I think a tiger can be used, but tiger is more sort of hard to hunt, right? Turtle shell is more available. That's why the tiger bone considered a trophy. It's king's victory. So next question. Were the tigers of China, this is probably a question for Burton. Were the tigers of China, Southeast Asia, and India all the same species, or were they of different subspecies?
Well, there is considered one species, but there have been several different subspecies. But now that we look at genetic data, so I've actually been currently involved in a project looking at the genomes. So maybe I'll have a better answer for in 12 years from now. But there are several different subspecies, but whether they actually are that much different, that's a question that we still don't know. But the tiger is one species, basically from Siberia through China, Asia into India is one species, but there are several subspecies.
So another question from Jim is, how about the color of the tiger fur? Oranges, you mentioned. Could it be sort of camouflage color in the jungle forest?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when you just look at the tiger, like behind me, it looks quite obvious, right? But if you look at it, in like a jungle forest habitat, you have a lot of leaves, you have sunlight coming through. So you have a lot of, dark, strips of light and a lot of bright, strips of light coming through the leaves. So in fact, the tiger, that fur pattern is actually camouflage. So when it's in the, in its forest habitat, with the differences of light, coming and going, that actually makes it hard for people to actually pick it up. If it was like a solid color, that actually would be more easy to pick up, because a solid color against all the different leaves, the sunlight, and the trees, that would actually stick out more than sort of a horizontal pattern.
Interesting. I never thought about the predator would have the need to have the camouflage as well. So better not to let their they better for their hunting.
Yeah, so they can sneak up on prey.
Yeah. Okay. Next question from James. Where did the bronze tiger live when it was alive, and when did the bronze acquire this specimen?
Well, this specimen, well, in fact, we actually have, I think, 14 specimens in our collection. They range from like only tissue samples we get from like a zoo animal to this taxidermy mount. But sometimes it's only like the skull. So this skin, if I'm not mistaken, I think it came from the old Toronto Zoo before the current zoo is here. Yeah, so it died, and then they offered it to the museum, and we have it on display now.
Oh, no idea. Now it becomes like immortal.
Yes.
Yeah. Next question from Era. How does culture and tradition impact the conservations? Does the relevance of a tiger help conservation efforts? Increase funding, staffing, awareness, and this and etc. I mean the wrong revenants, maybe he's talking about, or is it a challenging due to poaching and interesting in owning amount or skin bones?
Well, I mean, tigers are very endangered, and there's not that many like wild tigers around. So usually, I think when people see them out in the wild, I think people would be scared of them, but I think they also realize that they are endangered species. But there is still illegal poaching that goes on. And especially in India, where the tiger population is probably the best in the world right now, there's a lot of conflicts, between wild tigers and people in villages. So it's a very complex situation because people want to conserve the tiger, but also there's a danger of tigers. When people encroach upon their habitat, then there's conflicts between the wildlife and humans.
Yeah, nowadays I guess people are more and more aware of this kind of the conflicts and problems. Our next question from David: the trade in illegal tiger parts for supposedly medicinal kind of purpose. I guess tiger is also considered has some therapeutic kind of effects. It's one of the primary traits to wild tiger populations. What drives the Asia tradition medicine's belief that tiger parts are beneficial when studies have shown that tiger parts have little value beyond the placebo effect? I don't know. Do you have any insights on this?
I really don't. I was going to direct that question to you. So I think from a scientific perspective, nobody has found any direct evidence of any medicinal advantage. But obviously, culturally, tiger has been used. So whether herbalists from before, whether they use something that I don't know.
I suspect still from probably our culture sort of the interpretation or our cultural image association of a tiger being the very powerful animal. So we thought consuming some part of the tiger would be good for your health. So that's probably the assumption there. Next question is the Zhang Tian's print on display. No, unfortunately, because it's a paper, it's hard to display paper. We're not displaying it right now. Are tigers ever presented in a negative light? That's interesting. Do some representations show tigers' destructive or dangerous side? I cannot really recall. I don't know. What do you think?
I think in general, as you mentioned, tigers have always been depicted as strong and in sort of a positive light. I think the negative side is if you see it on the news, if there has been a tiger attack or somebody accidentally sticks their hand in the cage of a zoo and then something bad happens. So to me, that's the only negative thing is potentially in captivity circumstance.
Yeah, the tiger is really both respected and feared, you may say, as long as we try not to provoke the animal, to be fine, right? So I don't recall any sort of Chinese artistic image presenting tiger in a negative ways. I'll try to pay attention to it. Next question is kind of interesting. What are the biggest threats to the tiger's survival? I guess about today, maybe.
I would say it's a loss of habitat. So over the years, people are expanding and developing. So it's really a loss of habitat. Like the forest has been converted to agricultural use. So now the tigers are becoming sort of stuck in these little patches of forest. But then that also means that there's a higher chance of conflict between tigers and humans, and then people get scared, and sometimes they will, hunt or kill the tiger. Yeah, so it's really the loss of habitat, which causes other problems.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you mentioned this. What is the species of the tiger that is in the rounds, the taxidermy mount?
Well, it is the one species of tiger. I'm not sure whether we actually know where our tiger actually came from.
Mm-hmm.
So if we knew where it came from, then we might be able to say what subspecies it was.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, I don't think we have information on where our tiger came from other than from a zoo. So it could have been it was born in a zoo,
Mm-hmm.
but that information, because this tiger is probably almost 100 years old. So we don't have all that information going back that far.
Okay. Someone said our Kung Fu club performs lion dance. That's a tradition, right? Why isn't there a tiger dance if tigers made to China? I don't know, actually. Lion dance and dragon together, right? That's for the Chinese New Year. It's also because the lion is considered a very powerful animal. But I don't have an answer to that. I guess we are kind of running out of time. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone's participating and joining us and asking so many interesting questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer all of the questions because it's about time we have to close up this program. I just want to thanks again for Burton's expertise and sharing with you with us. And now the round has opened to the public. So I hope you will have a chance, if you are in the GTA area, you can come to see some of the specimens and also artworks that we discussed today. We also hope to see you in our next digital program. All the round at-home digital programs that are available through our website. You can find the further information there. So thank you so much for joining us today. I just wish everybody a happy year of a tiger. And so goodbye for now. Thank you.